Do you recommend like, hey, like if you're a creator, it's okay to try different lanes?
Yeah, no. So I'm not a rapper. I never wanted to be like. I have no aspirations to even be a dancer, man. That was like so hard. But I would say that in just creating, man. So just keep your mind open for creation.
Yeah.
And I would say that that's probably, as a creator, there is no lane. You're a creator, man.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so we're here with Mr. Chris Flores, known as Eatmigos, on the gram, on the YouTubes, on the TikToks, all over the world. He's also adventuring on some new adventures, which we will get to, which we're super excited about. But something that I want to say real quickly. Sure. So Bryce and I've mentioned this to you before, but we started off as Culture Shock TV.
Right.
But Culture Shock TV was influenced by Eatmigos.
Sweet,
if it wasn't for Mr. Eatmigos and also Maddie Sky to influence Culture Shock TV, which our first episode was about tacos.
Right.
We really wouldn't be the guys who we kind of are today and the influence of where we are today. So
sweet, brother.
Having this guy next to us right now is actually a really, really big deal for us.
Do we have a clap track?
No, we don't have a clap track, but I can.
Yes, that's all we need. That's all we need.
So this guy travels all over Texas right now, but you have done a lot more other than the Eatmigos aspects. You and I have some pretty in-depth conversations about you traveling the world.
Absolutely.
About seeing the beautiful things that it has to offer in your endeavors. And I kind of want to dive right into that. Bryce, you don't really get to know a lot of these cool conversations, but
I do today.
And so does the viewing audience.
So today's kind of overall idea is how you created Eatmigos and how you created the brand and where it's taken you and where the ups and downs has been and then where you are now, because it's prime.
Well,
You're a prime story right now.
Let's dive in.
There's been way more downs than there has been ups. Let me just tell you that. I was watching The Voice or whatever Lionel Richie's on, and he said something once, and is he not on The Voice? He's on American.
Honestly,
he's one of those songs, those shows, right?
Lionel Richie.
Oh, and he said something to this kid. This kid starts crying, and he says, "You have to understand something. We've been told no way more than we've been told yes."
Yeah.
He goes, all of us up here.
I think I remember that actually.
And I was like, man, that's such a great, powerful saying.
Yeah. I think as a creative too, it's just like I think I was watching a similar show. Who knows who was the judge for that?
Hannah Montana.
Yeah, Hannah Montana. and it's just like I think that there was this one contestant, and she's obviously everybody up there is an artist, and she was just like, "Oh, this is my only chance. Like you guys don't understand. Like this is all I have and stuff." And that's the same thing. The judge was just like, no, like everybody up here got told no, like all the time,
Absolutely, man.
Completely just agreeing with your statement, and as a creative, just kind of diving into that aspect, like what does that journey look like?
So I would say, when people think of me, they're like, "Oh, Eatmigos, food, tacos," and man, that's probably a tenth of what I've done creatively, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because people always go to that because it's how they know me. But man, I have been doing production for a long time, all over the world, like Drew said. London, Middle East. I mean, all over Europe. It's South America. Jeez. I mean, it's just all over the world, man. And that stuff. The thing is like I was just in the credits, right? Just my name, or sometimes not even my name was in the credits, right? I just shot it and they used my footage or whatever. But I think here in San Antonio, because San Antonio, when I started doing Eatmigos, probably 5, almost 6 years ago, there wasn't a lot of creatives around, right?
Yeah.
It was interesting, man. It was just like this empty. It was just like the city didn't really have many people wanting to create, and it wasn't really a creative atmosphere. We were just kind of sitting around enjoying everybody else's creation.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself, "Hey, I have a camera, and I usually have a camera on me, so why not I just film me and my friends' conversations when we go eat tacos, And I'll just post it on social media and see how that goes.
We watched it.
Well, I'm gonna say this. It's so funny. You have this idea, and you're like, this is amazing. And my friends would clam up on camera. Like they wouldn't even talk. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So like the whole idea of Eatmigos is a plural thing, right? Like I always meant there to be multiple people. But what happened is people just weren't the same on camera. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, I was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it and then I'll get other people involved. And I just never really could find anyone who wanted to commit to doing it with me. Mm-hmm. Like you guys are lucky. You guys are always together. I couldn't find anyone. Yeah. So it's interesting because people call me Eatmigos like it's a plural thing, but it's I mean, it was meant to be, but yeah, really it's just kind of me, the brand. Yeah.
Did you wake up one day and you're like Eatmigos, or like was that?
No. Like, so one of my good friends, Carlos, he's from the Valley. And, in the Valley, they speak Spanglish like no other people in the world. And he would always say stuff. He'd be like, yeah, fuimos a Walmart y compramos everything. And I said, bro, like your Spanglish is just so weird to me, right? And so we were kind of making fun of him. We'd always purposely try to speak Spanglish around him. And whenever I was trying to think of a name, I was like, you're eating with your amigos. I was like, you just Eatmigos, right? Why not? Let me see how that goes. And I put the words together, man. It's a word I created. And part of being a brand, so I wanted something that I created, a word that I created. So when people Googled it, 10,000 other things didn't pull up, right? At that point, if you Googled Eatmigos, the band Migos, there was like potato chips, I think that they had sponsored, and like that was the only thing to pull up though. It was like them eating potato chips, and it was like the Migos eating because it was in the keywords, right?
Oh my god!
But yeah, man. So after that, it was just free reign. So anything I did would hit the Google page, and that was part of my plan. I was like, man, I just want to do things at something that I created, so people don't accidentally stumble. Like it's intentional when they stumble across it, or they look for it, or whatever.
Nice.
Have you ran into any backlash with it?
No, I haven't, man. I think one of the things with Eatmigos, people always say Eatmigos. So that's kind of weird because people always pronounce it wrong. Like, oh, you're Eatmigos. And I'm like,
oh, man.
Yeah, yes. I'm Eatmigos. That's me right here. I'm Eatmigos. Yeah. But no, man, not necessarily. One of the things that I probably should have done, and I'm in the process, is of trademarking the name.
Nice.
Right. Yeah. It's just that's a little bit lengthy process. But yeah, recently I was like, I got to do it. I just got to do it, man.
Yeah.
So you've done Eatmigos you've grown the hell out of it. And then you had a really big blow up when you did what was the parody song that you did?
So in 2018, I was listening to the radio and Lean Like a Cholo came on, right? All right. And I was like, man, I love this song. Yes. And it was already a little older at that point. And just in my mind, when he was saying elbows up, side to side, I was like, tacos up, bite each side. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. So I'm kind of singing it.
Please play that in the background.
And
on that
man, I'll get you a copy of it, man. Yeah, exactly. And so about that time is whenever I started wearing City Lokes hats. I'm still wearing them today. So what happened is City Lokes had. So this is such a funny conversation. So I bought a City Lokes hat, and it was my trademark, the black hat with the license plate. It says Eatmigos. Right. That's like the old school OG hat. And I bought it, and I was wearing it, and I was like, man, this is a really cool way to brand myself, because my whole goal always was, I don't need people to follow me. I just need people to know who Eatmigos is. Even if they don't like it, I just want them to say, hey, the guy with the license plate hat who's bold, that's the taco guy, right?
Yes.
I just wanted that association. And so I bought the hat. I was wearing it, really cool. And I get a call from City Lokes probably about 6 months after I order it. And my following is it's pretty small, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 at this point. And they're like, hey, we see you wear our hats. And I was like, yeah, I wear them in all my YouTube videos. I wear them, the majority of my social media posts. Like, I love them. And they're like, we would like to come out and film with you. We're going to be out in Texas in a week, and we're going to go to Houston. We're going to Austin, but we can stop through San Antonio. We'd love to film with you. Oh, wow. And I'm just like, what? This is an LA brand established. Why are they calling me, right?
Yeah.
And this is just like, there was nothing. Other than I would tag them, every single post, right?
When I get those messages, it's just spam. So that's cool.
man, so he's like, yeah, Miguel, he's the owner, still really good friend of mine. And what he did is, so they came through and they said one of the things we're trying to do with City Lokes is break the mold of this isn't for gangsters, this isn't for cholos, this is more of like an urban brand. We want. It was so funny. He goes, hey man, like no offense, but you're a foodie. And you know, you're not a gangster. he's like, we want to break that gangster mold. And we're like, hey, you know, this dude, he's out there, he's eating tacos, it's really cool. So he was like, you know, I want to film that and I want to use it as a promo. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's cool, man. So we picked the taqueria, we went and we're eating. And when we're actually, after we're filming, after we're eating, we're talking and just kind of about, because they're creatives also. And, you know, we're just talking, bouncing ideas. I was like, yeah, I wrote this parody. And he's like, oh yeah, what's it called? And I was like, man, I don't have a name for it, but it's from the Lean Like a Cholo song. I was like, and he's like, but do you have the track already? And I was like, I do. He goes, have you rapped it? And I was like, I actually did. I was like, my friend Carlos, the guy that I'd make fun of for Eatmigos, he actually, he's the sound guy. He actually recorded it for me. And he's like, man, well, I'd like to hear it. And I was like, yeah, so that's cool. So when he went back to LA, I sent it to him and he calls me and he's like, hey man, he's like, this is really cool. He's like, let's call it Eat Like a Gordo. And he's like, instead of Eat Like a Cholas, he's like, are you cool with me saying you're gordo? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm not mad about it. He's like, we'll call it Eat Like a Gordo. And he's like, let me film it though. He's like, I just want you to be in it and rap it. He's like, but you know, I want to film it. And I'm like, oh man, this is cool. So he flies me out to LA and I'll never forget. I left here at 5 a.m. And I got there about 8:30 in the morning. We got tacos and we went downtown studio. We filmed there. We filmed like 3 or 4 different locations. And we got a food truck and like low riders. And it's just really cool atmosphere. And this is 2018. So when we're doing all this, we're having a good time. And I remember it's like 11. And man, so Drew, you are a dancer. The one thing that I will say is because he actually had like legit people. He had people the night before were dancing with Anne Hathaway on was it Saturday Night Live or something with Anne Hathaway. Like the night before they're dancing with her, and then like they come the next day and like they're like, oh, we choreographed this song and the Eat Like a Gordo and like this is what you do. And I'm like, and these are like legit like professional dancers, right? And I'm like, dude, it's like doing aerobics and doing aerobics and rapping for someone like my size is just not an easy thing to do. But man, from like seriously like 8:30 in the morning, and I went back. By the time I got back to the hotel, it was about 11:30 at night. It was an Airbnb. I flew out the next morning. I was literally in LA for that day, just that one day. Wow. We filmed, man, from sun up way to almost midnight. And I remember I was sore. I'm in the plane or whatever, and like a couple weeks go by, and I'm like, man, I haven't heard anything. Maybe it sucked. Like maybe we just didn't do a good job or whatever. And I remember he calls me. He's like, hey man, let me FaceTime you. I got a rough cut. I want to show you. I don't want to send it. He's like, because I don't want you to get too excited and put it out. He's like, but let me show. And I remember seeing it, and my mind was just blown, man. Really? How cool it looked, man. Because like they did such a good job.
I remember.
And I was like, man, this is ridiculous. So he's like, so this is the plan, man. He's like, we're gonna roll it out next week. He's like, call everyone you know. He's like, we're gonna do it at this time, Pacific time. Wow. Tell everyone to go to the page, go to the City Lokes page, like it, and share it if they can or whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he's like, we're gonna do it on our side. And one of the things I felt to say is, he said, man, I'm gonna launch a line of clothes called the Taquero line of clothes with it. Like, so it's gonna have a line. Nice. It's like, man, very cool. So we do it, and I'll never forget, man. I go to bed, and you know, it's got like 5,000 views. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is 5,000 views. I can't believe I got that many views. And like, I was like, this is a song I wrote. And I remember the next day I looked and maybe it was like 20,000. And like my mind is blown because I'd never really had anything that.
Right. Wow.
I think it was that night. My wife taps me on the shoulder and she goes, have you seen your video? I was like, no, what's it at? Like, is it 30 now? And she shows me and it has 500,000 views on YouTube. And I remember looking at that and I'm like, is that real? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, screenshot it. I was like, oh my goodness, in case they take it down. Like I gotta, you know, if it didn't happen, I gotta put it on the gram. Proof, yeah. I was like, I gotta put it on the gram, man. And I remember like, I think 2 days later, it finally hit 1 million views.
Wow.
And like, Brad, it was just mind blowing because I was like, there's people. I literally wrote that at my kitchen table. My kids are like yelling and like throwing up. They were little kids at that point, like vomiting and stuff. And I remember, I still have the page. Actually, I found it the other day that I hand wrote it, and I was listening to the song, and I hand wrote it. And I mean, it was just crazy to think that over a million people heard that song.
Yeah.
But going back, there wasn't, when I think about it, because now I see a lot of like taqueria parodies and stuff. I'm not saying that I came up with the parody idea for taquerias, because I'm sure someone did it before me. I just don't think it had been done in a little bit, and maybe not at that level, because they recorded such a good video.
Yeah, they flew all the way to LA. And
yeah, man, it was crazy.
made it
And
big,
yeah, man, 1 million views.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And about 3 months later, I did another video with a friend, and I think that one's like at 2.3 million right now views.
Wow.
So in 2018, it's like, man, it was this high, right? And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. I had 2 viral videos within 6 months.
We're going on tour.
Yeah, I mean, this is it, bro. Like, I've made it, right? But it didn't. One of the things that I would say is I wasn't ready for that, because I didn't translate it well into what I probably should have.
Yeah.
Like now today, if I had something that was a viral video, I would do so many things different, because I just feel that it was missed opportunities twice. I was so wrapped up and happy with just having videos that were viral to say that I did, but I didn't turn them into business opportunities. I didn't turn them into like creative opportunities with creators who have a lot of viral videos, who may have collabed with me at that point. I just let it all slip away, man. And I should have really just captured that time and just really jumped on it and tried to do more with it. But I was young. I mean, I'd only been doing internet stuff for like maybe not even a year at that point, right? So, yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned from that was you always have to have a plan for everything that you do, because if it sinks or whether it does amazing, you have to figure out the best way to take that opportunity and do the best you can with it, right?
Yeah.
And after that, I learned, but I haven't had a viral video since then. So I'm hoping, man, I'm hoping sometime soon.
Lean Like a Cholo, the sequel.
Exactly. Well, I have one, man, for an Eazy-E song, man. And I want to record that here in town. I wrote it about 2 years ago, and it was during COVID. And it needs to be produced.
Man, what's funny is I was literally, when you were telling me that story about like, coming out of San Antonio and then like going to LA to compose a song as a content creator. That's another question I have, but it reminded me of that like Straight Outta Compton story where you're just like, oh, let me throw you in the booth. Let me like throw you into the booth right quick and like lay a song down,
Well, I'll say this, just like the movie, I remember getting behind the mic with my script, and Carlos is there, and he's like, all right, bro. And he came to my house, and he had like some professional equipment. It was like one of those shields. It's like around all of me, and like I have everything.
Yeah,
and I'm like, bro, here it is. I'm gonna kill it. I don't rap. I could not rap it like the way in my mind I could rap it. And when I was writing it, I could rap it. But when it came time to actually say it, it was hard to be on beat. It was hard to do so many things that 5 years later, I'm telling you the secrets. So we slowed down the beat, and I rapped it slow, and then we sped it up. Because that was the only way. I don't have I don't have rhythm to actually just spit like that, bro. I wish I did. And when you listen to it, you're like, hey, man, that's not even that fast. It's like, it was just so hard for me, man.
I'd love to go to a concert where they like slow down the beat.
Yeah, it's like, it was crazy, man. It was literally that whole like chain of events with Eat Like a Gordo and then with City Lokes was just amazing. And from that, I became an ambassador for him, and I've literally worn City Lokes hats ever since then.
Wow.
Yeah, because one of the things that I do, I always wear it because it has my name, one, and people see it, and I just want people to see it and recognize the brand. Like I said, they don't have to follow me. They don't have to like me. If they just know Eatmigos and they just read it and they're like, oh, I don't know what that is, but okay, that's cool. It's just brand recognition, man.
Yeah.
And I've always shoved that down everyone's throat, like on my water bottle.
Yes.
Like I have Eatmigos.
Yes.
Like I just shove it down everyone's throat, man, so that people can associate that with me.
Yeah.
That's part of the branding.
Kind of like going off of that, in not too irrelevant direction, but I wanted to kind of ask you about that rapping situation, right? So like, you're a creator and you were telling me about the production side. Like, did you want to be a rapper, or do you recommend like, you know what I mean? But do you recommend like, hey, like if you're a creator, it's okay to try different lanes?
Yeah, no. So I'm not a rapper. I never wanted to be like, I have no aspirations to even be a dancer, man. That was like so hard. But I would say that in just creating, man. So just keep your mind open for creation.
Yeah.
And I feel like now sometimes I don't. Like there's things, I'll see something happen online. I'm like, oh man, I should do X. And then I don't do it. And then someone else does something similar. And I'm like, man, that could have been me. Like I thought that. Yeah. Right, I could have used that, or I had an idea that was similar, probably could have done well, and I would say that that's probably, as a creator, there is no lane. You're a creator, man.
Right, right.
And it's your audience. So once you find your audience, and one of the things I always tell people, because they're like, hey, can you give me a shout out? And I'll say this, man, I have friends, celebrity friends. They give me shout outs. I don't have millions of followers. That does not work that way. Like getting a shout out does not give you lots of. I mean, I had 2 viral videos and I still didn't break. I mean, I was like maybe gained maybe like 600-700 followers, maybe like nothing what you would think from a viral video, right? And like I said, maybe had I capitalized on the moment a little harder, I probably could have built that audience from that, but I didn't. Like one of the things that I did probably months and months later is everyone who liked it, I went and I sent them an invitation to like Eatmigos. And I was like, bro, I'm months late on this. Like had I done that the day after, they'd be, oh, this guy's funny. I liked his video. Let me, follow him or whatever. And that's what I'm saying. I didn't have a plan, right? I had goals with no plan, right? And I could kick myself now because I feel that there's been a lot of missed opportunities because of that.
I feel that. I feel like a lot of creatives, we're always trying to do the one vid that's going to like blow you up, but then you don't have any backing, but there's so much with like, not just being a creative, like do you have to have a website? Do you have to have like YouTube tutorials? Do you have to have all these things that like to make yourself not look legit, but like, hey, like these are all the things that I've built out as a creative, to show a face in the community of a creative, but also I think it comes down to collaboration as well.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're not willing to collaborate as a creative,
absolutely,
then what are you doing?
I would say that part of me growing my audience has been all through collaborations. Yeah. And one of the things that I would do a lot was, to me, even today, like if someone has 300 followers, I don't care. Like if someone wants to collab, I'm super cool with it, man. And I'm like, dude, because I remember I was once there and I was like, man, if that guy would ever collab with me, that'd be amazing or whatever. And I just see it as like, we all help each other out, man. As the pond rises, so do the ducks, man. So, I mean, that's just the way I see it, man. So let's just all get better together, man. Like, let's just all elevate the whole creativity, especially here in San Antonio, because it's in its infancy. There's not like a whole lot of creatives here.
Yeah. No,
I'm going to change my bio to that duck saying.
Oh, yeah. It's the pond rises, so the ducks. Yeah, I love that saying, man.
So you recently are now on a new adventure.
I am.
And what does that look like? What can you talk about it?
Well, I'll say this. Yeah. So I went ahead and threw my name in the hat as a creative favor. They're the delivery service, food delivery service. They're owned by HEB. They put out that they were looking for a chief taco officer, and man,
CTO.
It's CTO, man. And the funny thing is, if you saw how many people had tagged me in their initial post when they were looking for this, it was ridiculous. People sending it to me, and I was like, man, this is an amazing opportunity. Wow. I was like, but man, everybody's really putting a lot of pressure on me because I'm like, if I don't get it, like all these people are gonna be like, hey, bro, like you let me down, kind of thing, right? Yeah. And I just remembered, man, I listened to what the criteria was, and I was like, man, this feels like it was made for me, right? I was like, this job is literally what I've been doing the last 5 years. And I mean, they don't know me. They just were looking for somebody. Well, they were looking for me, right? Because I got the job. Yeah. But they were just looking for someone who had the ability to create content and, was pretty good on camera and was good with speaking to the media, that kind of thing. And man, I went through a round of creative challenges and interviews. Wow. And man, I'll never forget. I got an email. And it was like, hey, we'd like to call you, like on whatever day it was. And I remember my wife's like, what do you think that means? And this was after the last creative challenge. I was like, I don't know. I said, because HEB and Favor are very professional companies. So maybe they're calling to tell me I didn't get the job, right? And there's like, hey, thank you for applying, but you didn't get the job. Right. And she's like, but what if they're going to tell you did get the job? And I was like, nope, I'm not that presumptuous. I can't do that. I don't want to build myself up like that. Because the call was like 4 or 5 days later. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. I can't do it. And every day she's like, no, I think you got it. And I'm like, don't do that, because if I don't get it, it's just, you can't do that. I was like, don't jinx it. And
watch too many cartoons. You got to.
Yeah. Man. And then, man, I got the call and I got it, brother. So my job is to travel Texas and eat tacos. That is literally the dream job, right? That's my job.
Oh, man. Guy Fieri from South San Antonio.
Something that you did that was very different when submitting your video. And I was a Mr. Favor.
You were, man. You were in it.
And
I got it because of you, Drew.
Oh, snap.
Got the smile on camera.
Secret weapon.
So to add to this, what Chris did that was completely different than a lot of submissions that I believe, he included the favor. He included somebody actually favoring somebody in the video, as opposed to talking about yourself and being like, this is what I can do for your company, and then actually incorporating how to utilize maybe the app. Like, hey, like I use this app to have this person walk in front of the Alamo to hand me some tacos. But as small as that was, they appreciated it.
Absolutely.
And noticed that. And they said to themselves, possibly like, hey, this person actually gets the idea of what the content creation for Favor is going to look like. This is a good candidate.
Whenever I was applying, the one thing I did was, and I don't know if anyone else did this, I went to the website because I saw the video and there was what the ask was. This is what we're asking from you. What I did is I screenshotted the actual web page and I put it in front of me, and I literally anything that this do you love Texas? I need to incorporate loving Texas, and I made notes for every single ask. Because I said, I want to hit every single one of the points, because I felt that when I was looking at some of the submission videos, it was, as Drew was saying, it was more like, oh, I love tacos, and that's why you should choose me, because I love tacos and I eat tacos 5 times a day or whatever. And it's like, but that's not what they're asking, right? They're asking, do you love Texas? Do you love tacos?
Right.
Do you favor? Do you? And it was just, when I did that, I just listed them all out. Then from there, I bullet pointed them out. And then I wrote a script for myself. And I made sure in the script I hit every single one of the bullet points. And the one thing I really wanted to do was, I was like, how cool is it to favor yourself a taco? So you're talking, and then at the right time, the favor driver comes in, they hand you a taco, and like part of it is like sharing with, this is the Eatmigos part, like sharing with your amigos. So Drew and I, we cheers the tacos. We both take a bite to end the creative video.
Oh,
the funny thing about this whole thing is that, can we talk about that it was a favor shirt?
No, yeah. So it's funny. My wife made that with her Cricut machine, because I didn't know where to get a favor shirt, right? And I was like, how do I get a favor shirt? So we made one for Drew. My wife made one for Drew. And like he put it on, and whenever I got the job, I said, I do have one question. And they're like, what's that? I was like, do you think the guy who gave me tacos was a real favor driver or not? And I remember they're like, we feel he may have favored before, but we weren't familiar with him. And I was like, oh, he's not. I was like, and then they go, so then did you make that shirt? And I was like, I made that shirt. And they're like, yeah. They're like, there was a couple of things that we know with branding that it was off slightly, but a normal person wouldn't
pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was.
You told them, we framed it. No, we burned it. No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man. My God.
So that's what's genius to me is the fact that like when you are a brand, that showcases to other brands how much you actually care, not just about yourself, but how much you actually care about other brands and what they're trying to do for the community, what they're trying to do for their own culture in itself. So that's why when you told me that, it was like, wow, like Eatmigos itself is not just like this identity of just tacos and community in San Antonio. It's very like, hey, I'm really going to like, if this is where I'm going to be as far as like either a brand ambassador or where you are now with Favor, you actually took into play like, hey, I'm going to make sure you guys are best represented if I am picked for this position.
One of the things is, yes, I'm Eatmigos, I have the brand, but they hired Chris, right? So the thing is they're hiring the creative at that point.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Eatmigos, but just the creative. and my job is to be creative for them, to make creative content with tacos, to travel, to do just create a video. So I think it was very important on my part to show them that, oh, I can separate that, right? Yeah. So I do have a brand, but I also, my brand, I'm partnering with you, man. So we've partnered together, and it's been an amazing experience. I've been on since June 6th, I believe, is when I got the call that I was the guy. And then it didn't start, and I had to keep the secret for forever. And people like Drew, who was part of it, do you got it? You got it? And I'm like, man, it's just such a hard secret to keep, man. The only people who knew were my wife and my brother, and my wife, because obviously she's my executive producer, I call her. And
she made the T-shirts.
And my brother, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to need a babysitter when school starts, because I'm going to be traveling. So can you work this into your schedule or whatever to pick up the kids? And man, so I just kept it as a secret for a very, very long time. And I'd signed the contract, and it was just interesting because people were, hey, whatever happened to that favorite thing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just still waiting. I don't know. And like, that week or whatever, I'd been at Favor taking pictures and doing all this stuff. It was just an interesting. It was interesting. It was fun though. It was good.
Dude, we really appreciate you being here, man, and taking the time to talk to not just us, but like other creatives who are not just in San Antonio, but Texas and the States, man. And if there's anything that you can provide as far as knowledge throughout your years of like not just travel, but also like throughout your creativity that you would like to add, I'm all ears, man.
Man, I think the one thing that gets a lot of people in trouble is they're not authentic to their brand, to themselves, to their creativity. And I will say that there is an audience for everyone out there. So you just keep doing what you're doing, and your audience will find you. I guarantee you they will. And then they'll tell their friends who have similar interests. And that's the first thing. But you just got to be authentic, man. Because you can't. Unless you want to act the rest of your life and be like, this is me on the brand, but off the brand, I'm someone totally different. Yeah, you don't want to do that, man. You just want it to be fun, because if you have to act, then it becomes a job, then you don't like it. So to keep it fresh, man, just be yourself, and just keep doing it, man. Just stay consistent, creative, and just keep doing it, man. Even on those low parts, because I'm gonna say this, man, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, you know what, I'm done. Eatmigos is done. You have highs and you have lows, right? And the thing is, when you're on your high, it's easy. When you have viral videos, you're like, bro, I'm killing it. And then, 2 years have gone by and you don't have videos that are viral, and you're like, what am I doing wrong, man? And it's like, maybe I should just, too much time, too much energy or whatever, but stick with it, man, because you never know what's going to happen, right, in the future or whatever. Man, with the highs and lows, man, just stay creative and stay pushing on, man, just creating. That's the most important thing, I would say. And don't let that get you down, because at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself. It's fun. Like, we love it. We love creating, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things I've created that no one has ever seen.
Yeah.
Right.
They're still on my hard drives, and I'm like, I did this, and it's hilarious to me, or whatever, right?
Completely understand. I've been on like 2-3 trips, and like they're still just chilling in my hard drive. I'm just like, come on. But what was that? The ducks will rise as the...
as the pond rises, so do the ducks.
That's my biggest takeaway.
Sweet, man. Well, man, I think that's awesome, bro. And I love that what you guys are doing over here as well, man.
Thank you, man.
It's amazing. It's been cool to see you guys also, man. Yeah. It's progressing. I'm like, oh, look at these guys, man. This is amazing, bro. It's amazing. Like, I wish they would have called me. I would have loved to have gone there.
Yes. Man.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we just want to see change. That's the thing. We want to see impact. We've heard this word influence for the longest time. We just want to leave impact. Yeah. And whether that is change or making a difference, that's where we are. And as a brand, that's what we've created. What is it? Connect, change, create and connect.
Man, your videos, bro, I love them. You did the one around here somewhere where you're videoing it. I think the shades rise or something.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, man. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, man. I love that video. I wish I had thought of that or something like that. And I love it, man. I just I love the creativity, man. I love all that.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we're just happy. We're just happy to be able to create. We're happy to have the opportunity to collab and create, and that's where we are. And again, we appreciate you being here, guys. Make sure to give this guy a follow,
or a favor,
or a favor,
yeah. use Favor because it helps support me. Shop at HEB.
This is Sir Chris, Sir Eatmigos, and Sir Favor. We appreciate him being on board and joining us. Any final words?
My name is Bryce Chandler.
And I'm Drew Reinhards.
Chris Flores.
And this was Subculture.
Yeah.